What? Oh my God. Oh my God. I just realized something. One of my favorite Trump photos of all time is the one where his looking super fat. He's playing tennis in that with the little shorts. Dude, I just realized I never noticed he was playing tennis in that because his ass is so fat that it's like that meme is like, I can't tell you the color of anything in this photo. You know what I'm talking about? We're now talking about RFK Jr. with his ridiculous Senate confirmation hearing.
I'd ask these in a manner that's faithful to what you actually said, because I didn't want to have a debate about whether you actually said them. So I'm asking you, yes or no, Mr. Kennedy. Did you say that COVID-19 was a genetically engineered bioweapon that targets black and white people, but spared Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese people?
I didn't say it was deliberately targeted. I just quoted an NIH-funded.
Yeah. He just said it was a Chinese bioweapon built with the Chinese alongside the Ashkenazi Jews to target black and white people. I mean, he did say that. Like, he very openly said that. But I guess he didn't mean it, except he did mean it. So not exactly certain on what this defense is here. Oh, I just saw the NIH-funded study that told me that that was the case.
An NIH published study.
Did you say that it targets black and white people but spared Ashkenazi Jews?
I quoted a study, Your Honor. I quoted an NIH study that showed that.
I'll take that as a yes. I have to move on, I have to move on. Did you say that Lyme disease is highly likely a materially engineered bioweapon? I made sure I put in the highly likely. Did you say Lyme disease is a highly likely militarily engineered bioweapon?
I probably did say that.
Did you say that?
And that's what the developer of Lyme
I want all
disease
of our
said.
colleagues to hear it, Mr. Kennedy. I want them to hear it. You said yes. Did you say that exposure to pesticides causes children to become transgender?
No, I never said that.
Okay, I have the record that I'll give to the chairman, and he can make his judgment about what you said. Did you write in your book, and it's undeniable, that African AIDS is an entirely different disease from Western AIDS? Yes or no, Mr. Kennedy?
I'm not sure if I made that.
Okay, I'll give it to the chairman, Mr. Kennedy. And my final question, did you say on a podcast, and I quote, "I wouldn't leave abortion, to the states. My belief is we should leave it to the woman. We shouldn't have the government involved, even if it's full term." Did you say that, Mr. Kennedy?
Senator, I believe that every abortion is a tragedy.
Did you say it, Mr. Kennedy? This
believe
matters. It doesn't matter what you come here and say that isn't true, that's not reflective of what you really believe, that you haven't said over decade after decade after decade, because unlike other jobs we're confirming around this place, this is a job where it is life and death for the kids that I used to work for in the Denver public schools, and for families all over this country that are suffering from living in the richest country of the world that can't deliver basic health care and basic mental health care to them. It's too important for the games that you're playing, Mr. Kennedy. And I hope my colleagues will say to the president, I have no influence over him. I hope my colleagues will say to the president, out of 330 million Americans, we can do better than this.
Senator Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kennedy, thanks for being with us. I very much like the slogan that you coined, "Make America Healthy Again." And I strongly agree with that effort. Despite spending, as you indicated, 2 or 3 times as much per capita on healthcare as other nations, we have 85 million people who are uninsured, underinsured. We have all kinds of chronic illnesses. Our life expectancy is lower than other countries. And for working class people in this country, they are living 6, 7 years shorter lives than the top 1%. We got a problem, okay? And I'm going to suggest some ideas that I think can remedy that. Last year, the insurance industry in this country made over $70 billion.
That's my friend. Chat. That's my buddy. Friend of the show, Bernie Sanders. friend of the show, Bernard Sanders. Did you hear the last guy? Yes. I'm a Bennett head. Less content, please. I am neurodivergent. Is overwhelming me. Yeah, no. Sorry. All right, let's keep going.
While at the same time, 85 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured. Do you agree with me that the United States should join every other major country on earth and guarantee health care to all people as a human right? Yes? No?
Senator, I can't give you a yes or no answer to that question.
Wow. That's crazy. You fraudulent charlatan. We already knew he was a bitch, but God, dude, I thought you were supposed to be independent, dude. I thought you were not supposed to be beholden to the same corporate interests and you want to tackle corporations. What happened? What happened to the RFK Jr. chatters? You can't even lie. God forbid you lie at the behest of the people for once. Nope. This is why I always tell you, conspiracy guys are creating very enticing distractions away from the real vectors of pressure and the real vectors of pain.
Is healthcare a human right?
In the way that free speech is a human right,
Yeah.
I would say it's different because if with free speech doesn't cost anybody anything, but in healthcare, if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you are now...
Dude, this is so funny. Oh my God. Oh my God. I love this. Okay. This is so awesome. Guy who is supposed to be working outside of the confines, who's supposed to undermine for-profit healthcare and like routinely, the guy who's made a name for himself by preaching about how for-profit healthcare and the food industry is like poisoning us, turns around and says, "Oh, the solution instead of socialized medicine is actually engaging in self-restraint." That is literally just a Republican position, you fucking jackass. Oh yeah, dude. If you have leukemia as a child, well, you should have thought about perhaps not having it. Thanks, man. Thanks, dude. That's sick. That's sick. That's sick. I can't wait for Republicans to fucking cry about like people making fun of RFK's voice, by the way. That's definitely coming. Republicans will cry foul and claim ableism and complain endlessly as though we don't know the way they operate. You know what I mean?
Taking from the pool. Well, and so are you guaranteed the same right, or is there also a duty?
I'm sorry. I'd love to talk for an hour with you. We got a few minutes left here. All right. Every other country on earth says healthcare, whether you're poor or rich, young or old, to human right. I'm not hearing you say that. All right. You've talked about the drug companies, and maybe we agree on this one. As you all know, despite the drug companies making over $100 billion in profits, paying CEOs outrageous compensation packages, we in some cases pay 10 times more for the same drug. Will you support legislation that I will introduce which says that in America we should not be paying a nickel more for prescription drugs than people around the rest of the world? Yes, no?
To equalize it?
Not to equalize it, that we should not be paying more than other countries for the same damn drug.
Like we moved on from Medicare for all to just like, can we get some normalcy in the pay structure? You claim that you want to undermine the pharmaceutical industry. You claim that you want to undermine the pharmaceutical industry. You understandably have presented a genuine problem within the incentive structure of the pharmaceutical industry time and time again. Would you be on board with lowering the profits of the pharmaceutical industry at the behest of the citizens and advocate for more reasonable prices? This isn't socialized medicine at this point. We've moved past that. We moved past that to like, can we get anything here? And my man still cannot do it. He still can't. Yo, Palestinian activists in Japan want to invite you to their organizing space. If you're down, I can facilitate it for you through Frogan. That would be sick.
President Trump has asked me, in fact, I had a meeting with President Trump a week ago where we showed him the charts.
He knows the charts.
We're paying 10 times more from Europe.
That's right.
Afterwards, we're going to go and pet capybaras.
And are you going to commit to us that you will end that absurdity?
I think in principle we can. We should end that disparity.
Good. Okay. That's great. All right. I happen to believe that climate change is real, it's an existential threat, and it is a healthcare issue. Donald Trump thinks that it is a hoax originating in China. Question is, in your judgment, is climate change a hoax or is it real, causing devastating problems?
President Trump and I, from the beginning, from our first meeting, agreed to disagree.
The part that I don't understand about like climate change or COVID, like the claims that it's a hoax, is that it's still killing people. You know what I mean? You can just deny it. You can just close your eyes and plug your ears and go, da 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 da. I can't hear you. But like, no, it's not. Islam is killing people. Okay, man.
On that issue, I believe climate change is existential. My job is to make Americans healthy again.
All right, you believe that you disagree with Trump. You don't think climate change is a hoax, is what I'm hearing.
My job here is to make
I'm just asking you that,
Americans
Mr. Kenny, not a trick question.
I answered your question, Senator Sanders.
Okay, you disagree with the president on that.
I answered your question.
Okay. I'm going to pick up on a point that Senator Hasan made. Look, there is no question that abortion is a divisive issue in this country. I would say a majority of the people are pro-choice. There's a strong minority who are pro-life. A year and a half ago, you went to New Hampshire, running for president, gave a speech, and you talked about government should not tell a woman what she can do with her own body. That's her choice. Now, I think everybody on that side is pro-life. I think everybody here is pro-choice. I have never seen any major politician flip on that issue quite as quickly as you did when Trump asked you to become HHS secretary. Tell me why you think people should have confidence in your consistency and in your word when you really made a major U-turn on an issue of that importance in such a short time.
Senator, I believe, and I've always believed, that every abortion is a tragedy.
But you told the people in New Hampshire that it was their right. All right, let me do a last question here because I'm running out of time. I think the gist of what you're trying to say today is you're really pro-vaccine, you want to ask questions. You have started a group called the Children's Health Defense. You're the originator. Right now, as I understand.
I saw this. This one is incredible. Look at that. Look at the RFK merch. These people, the transgenders, are grooming your children, but also I want to groom them into not using vaccines.
And that on their website, they are selling what's called onesies. These are little things, clothing for babies. One of them is titled Unvaxxed, Unafraid. Next one, and they're sold for $26 a piece, by the way. Next one is No Vax, No Problem. Now you're coming before this committee and you say you're pro-vaccine. Just want to ask some questions. And yet your organization is making money selling a child's product to parents for $26, which casts fundamental doubt on the usefulness of vaccines. Can you tell us now that you will, now that you are pro-vaccine, that you're going to have your organization take these products off the market?
Senator, I have no power over that organization. I'm not part of it. I resigned from the board.
That was just a few months ago. You founded that. You certainly have power. You can.
No. That was the old me, Senator. Why is he more upset about the baby onesies, the anti-vaxxer baby onesies, than like, I don't know, when Bennett was cooking him about how like African AIDS is is a different kind of AIDS than the AIDS you see in the Western world. Like, these people have grilled him on a bunch of things that are totally valid to grill him on. Okay. And he just kind of sat there and took it. This is the first time he's like genuinely launched a defense. He's like, no, that was not me. The onesie is a bridge too far, Senator. I would never. Some lines you don't cross. Enraged moms are his biggest risk. Yeah, except those moms love him. Like, they don't, you know what I mean? They don't care.
Are you supportive of this?
I've had nothing to do with
Are you
leadership.
supportive of these onesies?
I'm supportive of vaccines.
Are you supportive of this clothing, which is militantly anti-vaccine?
I am supportive of vaccines. I will. I want good science, and I want to protect.
But you will
Are
not
you a supporter of these onesies? Dude. Wild line of questioning. I mean, I get what he's trying to do. The reason why he's pointing to that is because the organization that he funded, that is an anti-vaxxer organization, is like selling anti-vaxxer onesies, which very clearly is like, the goal of this is obviously to just, get as many clips as possible, right? They're clip farming. But he's gonna, actually, I don't know if he'll get, this is the one guy that I don't know if even Republicans will be down for. Like, in some ways, he'll probably still get confirmed. Doesn't matter. But I mean, he's such a freak, dude. He's such a freak, and like, the American military's output at the end of the day is still violent, right? The American military's output at the end of the day is still violent. So having a violent guy like Pete Hegseth in charge of it, even if he's incompetent, is not going to change the direction of the Department of Defense. Whereas RFK not only is a kook, but he will dramatically undermine any kind of health initiative to a degree that even Capitol owners might be upset with. Does that make sense? That's why I'm saying, like, it's a little 97-2, only Sanders and Warren's against. RFK Jr. is more popular than Trump, I think. No, they got him in check. He's reading from the Capitol owner playbook. That's true. He is doing the whole, like, I would never undermine Capitol owners. I would never undermine the profit sector, the profit-seeking initiatives that the healthcare sector engages in. Obviously, he's doing the thing that he's supposed to be doing. Pete Hegseth, Hasan Piker, we're at 95%. RFK Jr. is at 77%. These have been fairly accurate, unfortunately. Well, notice how RFK Jr.'s percentages is lower than Pete Hegseth. That's what I'm implying. That's the point I'm trying to make, which is that, like, this man is, at least for the agency that he is going to be heading, Health and Human Services, is a more dire threat than Pete Hegseth is to the Department of Defense, despite being incompetent and having no background in managing anyone, let alone the second largest governing organization, the second largest hiring body in the country. Okay? That is the Department of Defense, the second largest hiring body in the country. Pete Hegseth is ridiculous as a choice there, but still, albeit still incredibly damaging to this institution, nowhere near as damaging as RFK Jr. if he is allowed to do what he wants to do at the Health and Human Services Department.
Tell the organization you founded not to continue selling that product. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Before I begin my questions, I'd like to start by entering into the record a letter the committee received from Ambassador Carolyn Kennedy outlining what she believes is Mr. Kennedy's lack of personal fitness for the office.
Without objection.
Mr. Kennedy, you have spent years pushing conflicting stories about vaccines. You say one thing and then you say another. In your testimony today under oath, you denied that you were anti-vaccine. But during a podcast interview in July of 2023, you said, quote, "No vaccine is safe and effective." In your testimony today, in order to...
What is happening? What is this? Darth Vader? Wait, is that him? Oh my God, is that him breathing? Oh my God, this person is the face of American health. This person is the face of American health. This person is leading the Make America Healthy Again initiative. Oh my Lord. Oh my God. It's yet another fantastic instance of ideology transcending optics. Americans are very optics focused, and Americans are at the mercy of what they see. They respond to shapes, colors, and sizes with regular frequency. Having said that, this instance goes beyond that, where the optics alone show that this is not a beacon of health or prosperity. And yet Americans are so ideologically invested in this project that they literally think like, no, he is a beacon of health and prosperity, actually, despite the fact that he is a visibly sick man.
Prove you're not anti-vax, you note that all your kids are vaccinated. But in a podcast in 2020, you said, and I quote, "You would do anything, pay anything to go back in time and not vaccinate your kids." Mr. Kennedy, all of these things cannot be true. So, are you lying to Congress today when you say you are pro-vaccine, or did you lie on all those podcasts? We have all of this on tape, by the way.
Yeah, Senator, as you know, because it's been repeatedly debunked, that statement that I made on the Lex Friedman podcast was a fragment of the statement. He asked me, and anybody who actually goes and looks at that podcast and will see this. He asked me, are there vaccines that are safe and effective? And I said to him, some of the live virus vaccines are. And I said, there are no vaccines that are safe and effective, and I was going to continue for every person. Every medicine has people who are sensitive to them, including vaccines.
Right, so
he interrupted me at that point. I've corrected it many times, including on national TV. You know about this, Senator Wyden, so bringing this up right now is dishonest.
let's be clear about what you've actually done then, since you want to deny your statements. For example, you have a history of trying to take vaccines away from people. In May of 2021, you petitioned the Food and Drug Administration to not only block Americans from having access to the COVID vaccine, but to prevent any future access to the life-saving vaccine. Are you denying that? Your name is on the petition.
We brought that petition after CDC recommended the COVID vaccine without any scientific basis or 6-year-old children. Most experts agree today, even the people who did it back then, that COVID vaccines are inappropriate for 6-year-old children who basically have a zero risk from COVID. That's why I brought that lawsuit. I don't want to. I want to.
Is this the up Voice Olympics? I mean, he's just, it's crazy to hear the death rattle by a dude who traffics in so many anti-medicine conspiracies. I don't know how to, like, it's just too, the irony is too much. Crazy.
Mr. Kennedy, the facts.
The committee will be in order. And to the audience,
Mr. Kennedy. To the audience. Comments from the audience are inappropriate and out of order. And if there are any further disruptions, the committee will recess until the police can restore order. Please follow the rules of the committee. Mr. Kennedy, you may proceed.
I also want to point out that your recitation of what happened in Samoa is absolutely wrong, and you know it's wrong, and you know it's wrong.
We'll get to that in a moment. Right now, we're talking about the petition that you filed to block Americans from having access to the vaccine and to prevent any future access to the vaccine. Those facts are on the record. My third question to you is, you made almost $5 million from book deals, mostly promoting junk science. In 2021, in a book called The Measles Book, you wrote that parents had been, quote, misled into believing that measles is a deadly disease and that measles vaccines are necessary, safe, and effective. The reality is measles are in fact deadly and highly contagious, something that you should have learned after your lies contributed to the deaths of 83 people, most of them children, in a measles outbreak in Samoa. So my question here is, Mr. Kennedy, is measles deadly, yes or no?
The death rate from measles historically in this country in 1963, the year before the introduction of the vaccine, was 1 in 10,000. Let me explain what happened in Samoa. In Samoa in 2017 or 2015, there were 2 kids who died following the MMR vaccine. And the vaccination rates in Samoa dropped precipitously from about 63% to the mid-30s, so they've never been very high. And in 2018, 2 more kids died following the MMR vaccine, and the government in Samoa—
Would you work out with RFK? Yes.
—banned the MMR vaccine. I arrived a year later when vaccination rates were already below any previous level. I went there, nothing to do with vaccines. I went there to introduce a medical informatics system that would digitalize records in Samoa and make health delivery much more efficient. I never gave any public statement about vaccines. You cannot find a single Samoan who will say, I didn't get a vaccine because of Bobby Kennedy. I went in June of 2019. The measles outbreak started in August. Oh, clearly I had nothing to do with the measles. Not only that,
Mr. Kennedy,
Senator, not only that, if you let me finish, Senator.
You have had some time.
If you let me finish, Senator, if you let me finish, there are 83 people died when the tissue samples were sent to New Zealand. Most of those people did not have measles. We don't know what was killing them. The same outbreak occurred in Tonga and Fiji, and no extra people died. There were 7 measles outbreaks in the 13 years prior to my arrival.
I just would like to get my time back. The nominee wrote a book saying that people had been misled into believing that measles is a deadly disease. He's trying now to play down his role in Samoa. That's not what the parents say. That's not what Governor Green says. It's time to make sure that we blow the whistle on actually what your views are. At least we're starting.
We need to move
Senator,
on.
I support the measles vaccine. I support the polio vaccine. I will do nothing as HHS secretary that makes it difficult or discourages people from taking either of those
Anybody
vaccines.
who believes that ought to look at the measles book you wrote saying parents have been misled into believing that measles is a deadly disease. That's not true.
We need to move on. Senator Grassley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Kennedy, I want to start with something that I think you and I agree on, and that is that Big Pharma has too much power in Washington. You've said—
Okay, well, like, the thing is, Bernie did this too, right? Bernie was talking about this as well.
that President Trump asked you to, quote, clean up corruption and conflicts. Sounds great. You've said that you will, quote, slam shut the revolving door between government agencies and the companies they regulate. That also sounds great. So here's an easy question. Will you commit that when you leave this job, you will not accept compensation from a drug company, a medical device company, a hospital system, or a health insurer for at least 4 years, including as a lobbyist or a board member?
Can you just repeat the last part of the question? Can I commit
You're
to
not going
what?
to take money from drug companies in any way, shape, or form.
Who? Me?
Yes, you.
Oh,
That's-
yeah, I'm
you're the
happy
one-
to commit to that.
Okay, good. That's what.
Like, I think asking him direct questions about whether he will work to undercut the profit incentives of the healthcare industry is a more reasonable line of question. I don't think he's going to get money from the healthcare industry. I mean, that's crazy. They ain't giving him no money. Bro doesn't even money from the healthcare industry. Bro doesn't even use medicine. He's so anti-healthcare industry that he's anti-health, okay? He's anti-medicine.
I said it's an easy question to start with. And I think you're right on this
I don't
question.
think any of them want to give me money, by the way.
Let's keep going. You're right because to say yes, because every American has the right to know that every decision you make as our #1 health officer is to help them and not to make money for yourself in the future. So I want to talk more about money. I'm looking at your paperwork right now. In the past 2 years, you've raked in $2.5 million from a law firm called Wisner Baum. You go online, you do commercials to encourage people to sign up with Wisner Baum to join lawsuits against vaccine makers. And for everyone who signs up, you personally get paid. And if they win their case, you get 10% of what they win. So if you bring in somebody who gets $10 million, you walk away with $1 million. Now, you just said that you want the American people to know you can't be bought. Your decisions won't depend on how much money you could make in the future. You won't go to work for a drug company after you leave HHS. But you and I both know there's another way to make money. So, Mr. Kennedy, will you also agree that you won't take any compensation from any lawsuits against drug companies while you are secretary and for 4 years afterwards?
Well, I'll certainly commit to that while I'm secretary. But I do want to clarify something because you're making me sound like a shill. I put
You're the
together
one who
that
got-
case. I did the Science Day presentation to the judge on that case to get it into court, the
Mr.
Daubert
Kennedy,
hearing.
Mr. Kennedy, it's just a really simple question.
Yeah,
You've taken in $2.5 million. I want to know if you will commit right now that not only will you not go to work for drug companies, you won't go to work suing the drug companies and taking your rake out of that while you're secretary and for 4 years after. It's just,
I'll commit to not taking any fees from drug companies while I'm secretary.
No. I'm asking about fees from suing drug companies. Will you agree not to do that?
You're asking me to not sue drug companies,
No,
and I'm not going to agree to that,
you can sue
Senator.
drug companies as much as you want.
I'm not going to agree to not sue drug companies or anybody.
So let's do a quick count here of how, as Secretary of HHS, if you get confirmed, you could influence every one of those lawsuits. Well, let me start the list. You could publish your anti-vaccine conspiracies, but this time on U.S. government letterhead, something a jury might be impressed by. You could appoint
I
people
don't
to the
understand that.
CDC vaccine panel who share your anti-vax views and let them do your dirty work. You could tell the CDC vaccine panel to remove a particular vaccine from the vaccine schedule. You could remove vaccines from special compensation programs, which would open up manufacturers to mass torts. You could make more injuries eligible for compensation even if there is no causal evidence. You could change vaccine court processes to make it easier to bring junk lawsuits. You could turn over FDA data to your friends at the law firm, and they could use it however it benefited them. You could change vaccine labeling. You could change vaccine information rules. You could change which claims are compensated in the vaccine injury compensation program. There's a lot of ways that you can influence those future lawsuits and pending lawsuits while you are Secretary of HHS, and I'm asking you to commit right now that you will not take a financial stake in every one of those lawsuits so that what you do as secretary will also benefit you financially down the line?
I'll comply with all the ethical guidelines.
That's not the question. You and I, you have said
You're asking me,
repeatedly,
Senator,
those
you're asking me not to sue
requirements
pharmaceutical
I am
companies.
not. My
Yeah, you
question
are.
is stop
That's exactly what
enriching
you're doing.
health. Look, no one should be fooled here.
I
As
fought that
Secretary
from-
of HHS, Robert Kennedy will have the power to undercut vaccines and vaccine manufacturing across our country. And for all of his talk about follow the science and his promise that he won't interfere with those of us who want to vaccinate his kids, the bottom line is the same. Kennedy can kill off access to vaccines and make millions of dollars while he does it. Kids might die, but Robert Kennedy can keep cashing in.
Senator, I support vaccines. I support the childhood schedule. I will do that. The only thing I want is good science, and that's it.
How about then say you won't make money off what you do as Secretary of HHS?
I'm going to give Elizabeth Warren all the credit in the world. That was an incredible line of questioning. Respect where respect is due. This, Lena Khan, there are times when Elizabeth Warren shines, cooks. She did an incredible job there. Okay? He didn't say it, holy no, it is an incredible job. The reason why it's an incredible job is because the angle of attack in terms of conflict of interest is very clear in one direction. No, don't say meh. I'm serious. The angle of attack for conflict of interest is so clear that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. unironically has utilized it to talk about the indecent nature and the revolving door between these agencies that Health and Human Services is tasked, these agencies that are under the umbrella of the Health and Human Services, and the people that are tasked with regulating these industries that end up making money off of their tenure at these agencies. On the other side, however, there is also a tremendous amount of money to be made. And the money angle is part of the reason why these guys actually get to present themselves as honest brokers, right? They showcase how much money is to be made when you go and work at one of these agencies, get out of the agency, and then go and work for any number of different companies that you were tasked with regulating. Okay? I have never really heard someone hit the inverse of that, especially in a situation like this. And I know that for all the idiots out there who are RFK Jr. supporters unconditionally, they will not understand the message that Elizabeth Warren was portraying. Okay? But RFK Jr., in that vein, is no different than the average government bureaucrat that goes and works for the same agencies, same industries that he was, same companies that he was tasked with regulating after their tenure is done in government. Okay? That is precisely what she exposed here. I'm stupid. Can you explain how they make money off lawsuits? Well, it's not often successful, but given that vaccines do have a tendency, or not vaccines, but just like any kind of medication has side effects, right? So people can go and try to sue manufacturers and providers, and in that process win trials if they do end up winning for any reason, for any number of different reasons. RFK Jr. gets a percentage of that. Okay? RFK Jr. gets a percentage of the trial awards if he is the one who is, bro's so mad Trump won. Yeah, dude, I'm so mad. You got me. But for this photo, this very moment, after like almost the past decade of using this photo as my favorite rare Trump, I just now noticed that he's playing tennis in it. It's been a decade. I have used this photo, Chad, I've used this photo for a decade. And this is the first time I realize he's playing tennis in it. That is crazy. Don't ask me the color of anything, dude. The brainworm won, okay? The long con is that the brainworm won. Now it gets to control the HHS. This motherfucker doesn't take vaccines but he's drinking Prime Energy? Bro, what the